everyone, it's Nancy McNally, NancyMcNallyQuilts.com. Today's video tutorial is about the Summer Winds quilt block. The block is 12 inches by 12 inches. That's finished size. We're continuing on with the other blocks that we did the past several weeks. So here's what you're going to need to make one of these quilt blocks. For your light background, you're going to need a fat quarter. Now, I used two backgrounds, and my second one, I only cut the center square, which is in the pattern, and it is square C. So I used this fabric as my center square. All right, so you're going to need a fat quarter of your light, and then get a 5-inch charm square if you need to use a second square. Excuse me, for your colors, now I'm using an assortment. I'm using 2 reds, 2 oranges, 2 yellows, 2 greens, 2 blues. Use what you like. In the pattern, the colors are listed as solid this time because it is a very scrappy block. So use what you like. If you want to just use 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green, 1 orange, and 1 yellow, then you're just going to need a fat 1/8 or just grab from your scraps. Do what you like. All right, let me get set up and we will get started on making our Summer Winds quilt block. Don't forget, go to the website. The description is down below in the description box, how to go to the website and to find the pattern. You can download this pattern for free for a short period of time. That's what I'm doing with all of the blocks. And then after a certain amount of time, then you have to pay for the block. Now, I promise it's not going to be expensive. 2 of the blocks you have to pay for are only 50 cents and some are $1. You can't beat that. All right, let me get set up. I'll meet you right back here. All right, so you have your pattern. Hopefully you've went to the website and you've downloaded the pattern. You can sew along with me if you'd like. So we're going to begin with our half square triangles. Now, I'm going to show you the same method as I have before. In the previous blocks, I write the pattern one way, but I make them another way. And that's only because I just want to eliminate drawing the diagonal line. My cut sizes are slightly oversized so that you have wiggle room to trim them down. All right, so the most popular way to make half square triangles is to draw the diagonal line, and then you sew a 1/4 inch on either side of the line. Now you can see I already have my fabrics matched together. So you draw the line, sew a 1/4 inch on either side. Then you cut apart on the drawn line. Let's do that. Next, you open them up and then you're going to press. There are pressing arrows in the pattern. So let me show you the pressing arrows just so that you understand. Right there, pressing arrows. Okay? I have my iron right here. Woohoo! All right, we're going to do these in just a second. So I'm going to move these out of the way. Every 2 squares that you match up to make half square triangles, you get 2 half square triangles. Some people don't know that if they're beginners. They don't understand the concept. Okay, so now I'm going to show you my way. So here's 2 fabrics. I have my light and my dark. I'm going to go right sides together, and I'm going to have my light fabric on top. It doesn't matter. That's just what I prefer to do sometimes. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it from diagonal to diagonal, corner to corner, and I'm going to go ahead and cut. Now they're matched together. I'm going to sew on that side and sew on this side. Pick them up gently. Don't finger them a whole lot so that they don't stretch. Because once you make this cut on the diagonal, your bias is exposed. It sounds really funny to say that, but your bias is exposed. That means that you can stretch the unit. It's think about how your cotton t-shirts can stretch and, you know, move around, and that's what these do. I'm not going to stretch them because I don't want to ruin my half square triangles. And so there we go. And so all I did was eliminate drawing the line. So our next step is to press, and we're going to press towards the darker fabric. If you prefer to press open, by all means, go ahead. And if by chance we get a little visitor on camera, that will be Mr. Bruce Kitty, because he is roaming around the room. All right, I'm going to get these pressed and then we'll trim them to size. I'll be back in just a moment. Before I trim these half square triangles to size, I forgot to tell you something about the pattern. So once you download your pattern and print it off, the final page is your coloring page so that you can lay this out the way you want. So you have a key or a map to go by. All right, just wanted to let you know that was available. Okay, now let's trim these to size. I tend to use this ruler. This is a 4.5 inch Creative Grid ruler, and this is a 6.5 inch Creative Grid ruler. I swap between the two when trimming to size. It depends on, honestly, how my hands feel, because I have arthritis. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the 45-degree line that is on the ruler and align it directly with that diagonal seam, the seam where you join the two fabrics. Now, you want to check two things. If your fabric is not resting directly on the size that you need to trim the half square triangle down to, you need to maneuver this a little bit so that you have trim, so that you can trim the fabric, and so that you don't trim it to the wrong size. Because what if you've pulled this down too far and then you went and trimmed it and you're like, oh, why is that too small? Well, because you didn't pay attention to the numbers. And it's a very easy thing to forget to do. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and trim these. Now, another thing I do is I put my pinky on the outside of the ruler away from the rotary cutter blade so that I can hold it in place. And I lay my hand flat. I don't lay it or hold the ruler like this. So we're going to trim one, and then I'm going to trim the top. And notice my fingers did not get cut. That's a good thing. All right, remove the excess. Now we're going to take this bottom corner and we're going to rotate it around so that now it's in the top position. Realign your ruler and take the measurement that you're supposed to be trimming them to, and that measurement aligns on the two edges that you just cut. Remember, because we rotated the half square triangle. All right, so I only have a tiny bit to trim off here, and there we go. All right, I'm going to finish my half square triangles, and I'm going to go ahead and sew these, and then I'll meet you back here, and we're going to start the flying geese. Now, that's the new method I'm teaching today, is I'm going to teach you the stitch and flip method for flying geese. We might have done that in one of the other blocks, but that's what we're going to focus on today. All right, I'll be back. So I have completed my half square triangles. They're all right here. I have 2 of every color. And next, we're going to work on, which is step 2 in the pattern, making the flying geese. Now, I have lots of friends that say, I don't like flying geese because they're having to work with triangles. I'm going to show you an easy method. Now, in the patterns that are up and coming, I will show you 2 other methods on how to make flying geese. But today, we're going to do the stitch and flip method. And I abbreviate that in the pattern as SNF, stitch and flip. All right? So you're going to need your, I forgot the letter. Hold on one second. These are E's, so you're going to need your E's, and you're going to need your F's. All right, so we're going to do this green one right here. You're going to draw a diagonal line on the back side, the wrong side, of all of your, I forgot the letter again, of all of your F squares, your light background square. So just place your ruler and draw the line diagonal corner to corner. You just need one. And we're going to be stitching on that line. Now I will advise you not to use a marker, fabric marking pen that has a wide tip. You want something that offers a very fine line. Let's do this one. Another thing that I do, whoops, I missed that one, is I also change the foot on my sewing machine. So I will do all of these, but on camera, I'm just going to do these right here. Okay, so now you have your choice. This is my 1/4 inch foot with a fabric guide that is a must for me. This is your basic foot right here that you can do stitch and flip with, or you can do it with an open toe foot. I'll place it on here so you can see it a little bit better. So this one has nothing that obstructs your view. This one I can still see pretty well with, so I think today I'm going to use that one. All right, another thing that people do is, let me grab a piece of scrap fabric. All right, so this is just a piece of scrap fabric, and I'm going to use that as a leader so that when I put my first stitch and flip corner in, that the needle doesn't push it down into the sewing plate, the hole on the sewing plate where the needle goes through. All right, so we're going to place the diagonal corner, or excuse me, the diagonal line. It's going to be in the top center position, and then it goes down to the bottom left. That's for the first one. Now, for sewing, let me go ahead and sew on this one right here. Okay, now for sewing, I will start here in the center as opposed to starting in this corner down here. If you start in the corner, that gives, that's when the needle can push that fabric down into the hole of the sewing plate, and it does what I call it just eats your fabric, and it just makes a hot mess. So I start here and then sew towards that way. All right, so let's put this one under the needle. Line it back up again. And this rectangle actually looks just a little too big, so I'm gonna double check the size. It is just a smidge too big, so I'm gonna trim that before I do anything else. There we go. That smidge. Ha ha ha. It worked perfect. Okay, let me get my little leader off. I'm going to put it back underneath here. And, okay, so now this piece will come and flip this way so that that's the start of our flying geese. And then before we can sew this one on here, we have to trim the excess away on this one. So let's open that back up. And we're going to trim this away. So there's two ways to do this. I'll bring this a little closer. All right, so I'm going to align the 1/4 inch from the ruler on the stitch line, the line that I just stitched. You can take and move your ruler, maneuver your ruler to where this little corner right here ends up on the corner of your shape. And then you trim. If you don't want to do that, the other method is you can not use your rotary cutter and a ruler. You can just use scissors and cut it off. Now, if these were larger, I would save them because I make 1/4 square triangles out of them. I'm just going to put this over here because I might save it. All right, so now our next step is to just press it in place. And again, there's pressing arrows on the pattern, and it shows to press towards the light fabric. The iron will make the ink mark that I drew the line with, it'll make it disappear. All right, so now we're going to place this one right here. And this time, the diagonal line, it still starts in the middle, and it comes towards this corner. That leader prevents the needle from pushing that corner of your fabric down inside the hole in the needle plate. All right, now we're going to do the same thing as we did before, and we're going to trim. Align that 1/4 inch. Trim that excess off, and then you're going to press, you're going to flip it in place and press. When you use this method, the goal is, what you want is 1/4 inch from the tip of the triangle to the outer edge of the light stitch and flip triangles that we added. If you do not have a 1/4 inch from here to here, flip your flying geese unit over and look. Even though you've already trimmed, look, did I use too large of a seam allowance? What happened? Because you want to have that 1/4 inch seam allowance. That is really important because you work hard to have these tips right here, your triangle tips. So let's focus on sewing slower and watching where you're going and aligning everything up properly. All right, I need to do these colors right here, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our corners. All right, so I'll meet you back here in just a moment. So what I did was I went ahead and I sewed, or I joined the rectangles to the top of the flying geese, and I've laid the block out except for the half square triangles. So this is where your, see if I can pick it up, maybe. There we go. The coloring page comes in handy, so you can have that as your legend or your key to go by, your map. All right, so what we want to do is make sure that you don't put a half square triangle that is the same color. Let's pull it this way a little bit. So let's make sure that you don't put the same color by your squares that are in these corners. So there's 2 of every one of these colors of your half square triangles. So now it's time to pull these corners together. And I'm going to start with this corner down here just because I don't want to reach over. So you're going to go right sides together. And I've already put my 1/4 inch foot on my machine. So let's get these joined. All right, so we have this one. Now we can join those together. Now remember, in the previous single quilt block videos, I have shown you how to align your seams first. You align your seams first and you nest them, and they go in opposite directions. So the 2 seams, they butt up against each other. They need to touch. They have to touch. Unlike the kids in the back seat of the car that don't want to touch. I'm going to place a pin in that, and then make sure that these raw edges are aligned, and then you can sew. And there we have it. And that's how you make your corner units. So before you begin sewing your corner units, lay it out, take a picture, and then study the picture and make sure that's exactly what you want. I'm going to get this pulled together, and I'll be back in a few moments. All right, so once we sew our corner units, then we need to join all together. Before you do that, make sure everything is the same size. I've already joined the bottom row to the center, so I'm going to go ahead and join the top row to the center. We're going to go right sides together just like we did before. I'm going to grab some pins, if I can pick them up. We're going to nest our center seams first. So that's the seams that run, well, in the middle of the block. All right, so I've nested those. I'm going to place a pin. I'm going to place a pin in this one instead of one underneath, because this is the one that is going to be going towards the presser foot. And the one on the bottom is going away from the feed dogs coming to me, so the feed dogs can't push it or maneuver it. So that's how I do my seams. Okay, now this one on the bottom right here, it's going towards the feed dogs. So I'm going to hold a pin in it, or place a pin, not hold a pin. I'm going to place a pin in that side. So now we're going to nest this seam, and then we're going to come across and nest this one. Just kind of open it up, kind of finger it. You can tell what's aligned and what's not aligned. And then make sure these are aligned. And I'm going to place this pin on the end. I'm sorry if my hands are in the way. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins. Not a big deal. Just don't sew over them. And now this is where we're going to start. So I'm going to hold that, and we're going to sew. Do not sew over your pins. pull them out. There we go. And it all looks good. Our Summer Winds quilt block is finished. I hope you've enjoyed making it. I think it's really pretty with all the colors in it. Ah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Nicey, nicey, nice. All right, thank you for joining me today. If you would like to please subscribe to my YouTube channel, just click the bell right below to join. And that way you'll get notified every time I release a block tutorial and other things that are coming up. So just please stay tuned. Also, you can subscribe to my newsletter by going to my website, nancymcnallyquilts.com, and click subscribe. I'll include the link in the description box below. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next single quilt block video tutorial. Don't forget to share with your friends. Have a great day.